friends, hey, it's your girl Bengali Black coming at you live from Bengali Black Studios, aka my living room. So since it's close to the holidays, I thought I would get into the history of one of my favorite desserts, the cookie. So strap on with me, grab a bite, and let's get into some delicious history right here on Not Your Typical News. Okay, so let's get into a bit of history. Cookies originated in Persia around the 7th century CE when they were still a thriving empire. Back then, they threw elaborate parties regularly, so they needed cakes for the occasion. Unfortunately, ancient ovens didn't have thermostats, so they would drop a small amount of batter onto a flat sheet and test the temperature. These test cakes became what we will know today as cookies. Around the 8th century CE, there were many invasions and wars, which is how the secret recipe of the cookie got out. By the 14th century, they were already popular all over Europe, and recipes of various cookies became a staple. The term cookie comes from the Dutch word koekie, which literally translates to little cake. Cookies were brought to the United States by the Dutch in the 1600s. At the time, if you wanted a sweet treat, you had to bake it at home because of the high cost of sugar. I guess the colonizers didn't have the plantation set up and running yet, so they had to wait until their shipments came to the Americas to make the cookies. Cookies go by various names, like biscuits in the UK, biscottis in Spain, and Kels in Germany. The most popular cookie to bake is the infamous chocolate chip. It was invented by Mrs. Ruth Graves Wakefield in the 1930s at the Toll House Inn restaurant in Massachusetts. Ruth was an educated woman known for her lobster dinners and her desserts. She invented the chocolate chip cookie purposely by adding Nestle bittersweet chocolate cut up into chunks to her famous butternut scotch cookie recipe. It wasn't long before the streets were buzzing with news of the new confection. Ruth published her recipe, and as it circulated, it boosted the sales of the Nestle chocolate. Nestle offered to buy the Toll House brand, which Ruth gladly sold for $1 and a lifetime supply of chocolate. Ruth had no idea what a huge impact she made with the cookie, but it's because of her recipe that many of these cookie brands even exist. One of my favorite chocolate chip cookies is the one and only famous Amos. I love these cookies because they're delicious, but also because the story behind them is quite inspiring. Wallace Wally Amos was an entrepreneur who was born in Tallahassee, Florida. After his parents' separation, he moved to New York City to live with his auntie Della Bryant, who had a passion for baking. She taught Wally to make many recipes, but the most important was her chocolate chip cookies. Her passion for food inspired Wally to take up culinary in school, a skill he never lost even when he joined the Air Force. When he came back from serving his country, he got a job at the William Morris Agency mailroom. While homeboy was out there talking his talk, and he went on to become the first black talent agent at the William Morris Agency back in the 1960s. He represented huge acts like Diana Ross and the Supremes, Marvin Gaye, and Sam Cooke, just to name a few, light work. When he was promoted to the agency's head of rock and roll department, Wally decided to spread his wings and start his own agency. He moved to Los Angeles with dreams of grandeur. Unfortunately, his first agency flopped because he didn't have all the tools at the time to make it work. To ease his pain over his failing business, he began to bake again, and his passion reignited. He decided to open a freestanding cookie store, and with the financial backing from some of his famous friends, it proved to be a success. The first famous Amos cookie store opened on Sunset Boulevard in 1975, and in a mere months, he was able to spread his franchise across the West Coast and to Bloomingdale's in New York City. So how did the famous Amos go from a gourmet confection to being sold in the corner store? Well, let me tell you. Due to mismanaged funds in the 80s, a problem we seem to have a lot in successful black businesses, Wally had to sell off parts of his company. A corporation called the Shansby Group purchased the cookies and rebranded them as a lower-priced product. Not to be deterred, Wally launched another cookie brand in the early 90s called Amos Presents Chip and Cookie, to which he was swiftly sued by the Shansby Group. Unfortunately, Amos accidentally signed over his rights to use his own name and his likeness on any food product. It seemed like the end of the road for Wally, but the Shansby Group bucked up and sold the brand to Keebler, who hired Wally back with the quickness as the brand spokesperson. Today, Wally Amos has his own muffin company, as well as another cookie company boasting the only original recipe of his famous cookie. And since I already told you he's a hustler through and through, I should mention he's also the author of several books as well as a motivational speaker who advocates for ending illiteracy in the United States. He is a true boss. Amos credits most of his success back to who? His auntie, who he said gave him the recipe that was the foundation of all his success. I'm telling y'all, aunties don't get enough credit, so I'm gonna take this moment to shout out all the aunties holding it down. We salute you. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's sweet episode of Not Your Typical News. For more information, please visit the links below in my description. And I'll see you guys back here next time for some great food, some great fun, and some what? Great history. See you guys next time. Bye!